Hello and welcome to episode 143 of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill, and Jason and I are coming off our high with the Steelers escaping defeat and winning and going to 4-4. So life's looking better on that front. Interesting week. So we'll start with the World Series. The road team wins 7 games. Incredible. Incredible. And the Nationals had, the progression from having the worst or one of the worst records in baseball to winning the World Series in the same year is pretty incredible.
And they did it without the guy you assume would be their biggest star going in there, Bryce Harper.
Without Bryce Harper. So that was an interesting side note. They didn't really talk about that much at all. So they didn't really address the fact that they did that without him, and it really wasn't mentioned. I'm curious now to see how many of them go to the White House. And I think Garrett Cole said his goodbye. Garrett Cole's not going to be an Astro next year. I'd be shocked if he is.
On the podium when he wore a different hat.
Yep. When he wore his agent's hat.
Yeah, and he acknowledged that was his employer and he was no longer an employee of the Astros.
And his agent is Scott Boras. So, I mean, God bless for him. I don't think he'll go to the Yankees. I really don't. I think he'll go to the Angels so he could be at home and he'll make enough money at the Angels, he'll be happy. If Scott Boras lets that happen.
Yeah, I've heard Philly, because Philly will apparently throw a ton of money at him. But
I don't think he wants to do that. I think he wants to go home.
Yeah, he's a West Coast guy.
He grew up in Newport Beach, which is less than a half an hour from the stadium.
Yeah, I think that was probably pretty appealing. And it's not like the difference in price is going to be that much between what the Phillies and the Angels are going to offer him.
Yeah. And, Madden figured when he took that job there, they were going to go have a big run like that. So I think that's where we'll see Garrett Cole.
And on the other
Anthony Rendon, another free agent. So let's see where Anthony Rendon ends up.
Yeah, I would
not be surprised if he stayed.
I think they got to pay him. I think he's like a cult hero in that place. I think you got to bring him back.
Yeah.
Because I think that team in general, though, they have a lot of older guys. And then you have a couple of agent pitchers. So, I mean, it's not like that's like an up-and-coming team. Despite guys like they're still like – they could easily be, close to – not a very good team next year really quickly.
No, I think you have to bring back Rendon. He is the heart and soul of the team.
I've heard people
he needs to come back.
Big Poppy, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Like sort of the cult hero.
Yep.
Lovable.
And you can see some guys on the team who won't be back. Like Zimmerman won't be back.
No.
He's been with that team a long time. I'm glad he got his World Series. But they're going to take his money and spend it on Rendon or somewhere else.
And I mean, I know we talked about a little off air, like the analytics community who usually would back up everybody. They can't give any sort of relief for why Garrett Cole wasn't brought in that game. Half inning, full inning, whatever inning.
No.
It
mystified him too.
Yeah.
You had him up and warming up 2, maybe 3 times.
Yeah.
And you didn't use him. So I don't know. They'll be second guessing that for a long time.
I think so. But the Astros fans
funniest
series, so
So on baseball, funniest tweet or Facebook thing I saw all week was the Pirates had fired the president, the general manager, and the manager, right?
Right.
And the tweet or the Facebook posted was saying, "Hey, could the Pirates fire Mike Tomlin too?"
Oh.
So that made me laugh this week.
As we transition to the NFL, I still don't know what to think of Tomlin. I hated the play calling today.
I don't know either. He's not Belichick. I can say that.
Yeah, he's not Belichick. But I mean, we could say that about almost every other coach in football. But I do watch, like when you watch the Chiefs, who obviously have a ton of offensive talent, but you watch some of the plays that Andy Reid calls and the way it seems like he schemes his guys open, and you have guys have, and the way Matt Moore is leading into victory, like I think there's more they could be doing offensively, and not I don't think you can count on old school football. Run first down, run second down. You don't get it. Throw a pass 2 yards short of the first down and hope your defense covers for you. Like it's too easy to score.
It's obvious to me that if you could throw deep or throw longer, you're going to have more success running.
Yeah.
Because the way they're playing, they're stacking up. If they think they're going to use the run to open up the pass, that's not going to happen.
No, because they also don't have it's not Nick Chubb or one of these stud running backs. I mean, James Conner's nice when he's healthy, but like Connors and Samuels are not stack 8 in the box every time they're up there. Guy, you don't even have to do that for those guys.
Well, the interesting story was that the Steelers had reached out to the Jets about Le'Veon Bell.
That's fascinating.
It is fascinating. It's fascinating. It's fascinating to me that the Jets did not move Le'Veon Bell.
I think right now, with Darnold being what he is, I think they're afraid. I mean, with the ghost play from a few weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, whatever that was, I don't think you want to start dismantling weapons around him right now. Because I think he's in that state right now where, we've seen, you never know with like a David Carr or a Tim Couch or any of the other 15 Cleveland first-round draft picks that play quarterback. Like, you never know, like, if they were in a better situation, would they have been able to become a more productive, better NFL player? And like Darnold, you spent a ton of capital to get him, and you don't want to like strand him and destroy him when it seems like he's already getting a little shaky as it is for 2 seasons, At least don't take away Bell.
I agree with that, but given the trade deadline, who are you most surprised didn't get traded?
Trent Williams. Easy. I mean,
Trent Williams?
Yeah, for the tackle for the Washington Redskins. He hasn't played for you all year. He's basically come out and said he hates you, doesn't want to play with you. And I've heard rumblings that they were offered, a second and a third, a high first, and they were asking for like the ridiculous Tunsil deal, the 2 first-round picks, and they never got it. And some people have said obviously, people I listen to have said that it was almost out of spite. They didn't want to trade him because he made the organization look bad. They'd rather just keep him and have him be. And it just seems like the Redskins do things really backwards, besides also being called the Redskins.
Well, that's true.
And the other one that surprised me a little bit, and I don't know what the offers were or anything else, but if you're Cincinnati and you just benched Dalton today or yesterday at the trade deadline to start Ryan Finley, you're 0-8. I'm sure you could have got something for Dalton at the deadline. I'm sure a team like the Bears
were surprised AJ Green.
Like, why not start Finley? You're not surprised what you get,
You're not surprised about AJ Green?
I think they really want. I think it's sort of like the Le'Veon Bell thing, where they want to evaluate Finley, and if you take away AJ Green, then how can you even see what you have at quarterback?
But isn't AJ Green a free agent after this year?
He is,
and he's not going to stay in Cincinnati.
Not willingly.
There's no way.
He might be franchise tagged. I think the problem with AJ Green is, and I think maybe you franchise him and then trade him next year, is he's coming on. He hasn't played a game all season. So what value are you going to get for AJ Green? Like, if you lose him in free agency, you get a third with a compensatory pick, right? I know it's in 2020 or 2021, not 2020 draft. But if people aren't offering you better than a third-round pick for a guy that hasn't played all year, like, what is your incentive to actually trade him?
I don't know. Make sure you get the number 1 pick next year.
Well, they're headed towards it.
The Bengals-Dolphins game still looking real big to me.
Well, the Dolphins.
Although I don't know if the Jets will win another game.
Yeah, and the Dolphins got a win today and looked pretty competent. They
actually look good the last couple weeks.
Yeah, for all the trades they made with Fitzpatrick and Tunsil and all the talk of other, they play hard for that coach. And they look like a professional football team. I mean, I don't know what else to say, like.
I think they're tied into the process.
Yeah.
Well, any comments on tonight's Ravens-Patriots game?
This is a tough one because obviously as Steeler fans, we clearly want the Ravens to lose. And as much as I say that I've gotten over the Patriots, and I have, and I realize they're the greatest franchise of all time. He's the best coach. He's the best quarterback. I also don't want them to have an undefeated season on top of it. So
no, I don't either.
But as a Steeler fan, we need the Ravens to lose for the Steelers to have any hope. Because I don't think they're getting a wild card. I think they're going to have to win the division. And in order
No, I agree. I'm intrigued because I think tonight we're going to get to see how good Lamar Jackson really is. And this is really the first good team the Patriots have played.
Yeah, when you look at the list of
really
they played, outside of Roethlisberger, and Roethlisberger's actually had really bad stats for almost a season and a half now. I remember for like the last 8 games he played, despite some big yards and terrible losses. But I mean, they haven't played. I mean, they played Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, and the Bills gave him a fight.
Yeah.
But Roethlisberger is the only quarterback on the list of people they played that's a professional NFL quarterback, I think. Obviously Allen and Darnold, maybe they will be, maybe they won't be moving forward. But
I'm going to be real curious how this turns out tonight. I really am.
I'm excited to watch.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about college football. And as you and I were talking offline, I love the fact that game day went to Memphis for the Memphis SMU game. Yeah. And it was amazing to see how many people showed up in Memphis to celebrate game day, which I think is a really good thing to celebrate college football. It's the 150th year of college football. I think you should celebrate by going to some places that are just good to go to. So I'm kind of bummed out. We talked a little bit last week about hoping they were going to go to Minnesota for Minnesota Penn State, but they're going to go to Tuscaloosa for LSU, Alabama. And they've been there a million times.
Exactly.
And I think it'll be a good show. I just don't think it could be what it would be with Minnesota being undefeated, playing an undefeated Penn State team. I think it will be a much bigger show in Minneapolis.
I think without a doubt. Plus, like you said, I mean, I've seen Alabama on that show more times than I can count. And they're great fans, and they have a great program and all that stuff. I've never seen Minnesota on there. It'd be really cool to just be, like you said, it'd be cool to watch. See some other fans in other parts of the country, see how excited they are.
I don't know when the last time Minnesota was undefeated in November.
Maybe never.
I mean, that's a shocker. Maybe never is right. Or maybe back when they won a national championship back in the 30s or 40s.
Yeah.
But definitely not in my lifetime. So the big game is going to be LSU, Alabama. And it's at Alabama. And Saban has had a week off to prepare, but so has Orgeron and LSU.
Yes.
Great scheduling on the part of both coaches to give themselves a bye week before the big game.
Yeah. I think, as we talked about last week, the only thing anticlimactic about it is that if it's a close game, and even if it's not, there's really good odds that if both these teams run the table after this game, they're in the playoffs, especially with Oklahoma's loss and some other things happening. I mean, odds are these teams are both making a playoff. So it's sort of like, yeah, it's exciting, but I'll wait for round 2,
Well, and Ohio State has to play Penn State, I think.
Yes.
And they have to play Michigan, a much improved Michigan team right now. So that could be really interesting as to how that goes.
But with the way they weight the SEC, like I said, I mean, as long as this isn't a complete just destruction of one of the two teams, and even if it is, I still feel like both teams probably get in, as long as they win out.
Yeah, I mean, it could look like that way, but because if the Big Ten gets anybody, it's going to be one team.
Exactly.
But they have Ohio State ranked number 1. We'll see if they come out ranked number 1 when the committee unveils it tomorrow.
Oh, I think.
But I think that.
Yeah. Well, whoever wins this game is going to be number 1 the week after.
Probably so. Because Ohio State did have one bad win where they had a scrap for a little bit. So we'll see where it goes.
In other NFL news, everything is pretty much the status quo. I think it's starting to shape up.
Although, how do you think Adam Gase is feeling today? He got fired by the Dolphins. who didn't have a win. He's coaching the Jets, and he loses to the Dolphins.
Exactly.
Better yet, what do you think the headline is going to be in the New York papers tomorrow?
Oh, he's not long for this world.
I can assure you it is going to be brutal. I mean, I remember when they hired him, it was Jets hire Finn's flop. Now that's brutal. And he hadn't even coached a game yet.
No.
Now he's 1-7. What are they going to say tomorrow? I'll be sure to savor that and put it up. I'll save it for the show next week. We can talk about what they said about him, how brutal it's going to be.
I mean, especially considering, you obviously are not a playoff team if you're the Jets this year, but you supposedly this is year 2 of your franchise quarterback. You should you should not lose to a team trying to tank like the Dolphins.
Yeah. Now we can shift the tank, watch to the Bengals. See how long the Bengals can go winless.
I just think the Bengals they don't have any talent.
No, they don't. And we'll see where it goes. Let's talk about the NBA. It's been a very interesting first couple of weeks in the NBA.
It really has been.
I think the Lakers look really, really good with LeBron and AD. I think they're playing really well together.
They're looking great, and they didn't have Kuzma yet.
And it looks like there's a little pop in LeBron's step right now. I think he's making up for how miserable he was playing last year. I think he's pretty excited. And I think that's been a really, really – they look like they're really fun to watch. They like each other and having a good time. Dwight Howard is Mr. Cheap Foul right now.
He's fitting in and doing what he's supposed to do, everything they want him to do.
Yeah.
And I will say this.
He's
LeBron, I think we've both knocked him on the fact that, he clearly shuts it down, from time to time. If he sees that, the writing's on the wall, this isn't the team, this isn't the year, he shuts it down. We've seen him do it in the playoffs. But, I mean, I guess you have to realize, you only have so many miles on your legs. And if it's not there, he's not going to, maybe he was smart for doing that.
Well, I think he knows. But they look really, really good. You pick the Spurs in the playoffs, and they look really good. They look surprisingly play. They always find guys that nobody else finds, and they always play well together.
And they coach them up because people forget the best player in NBA right now might be Kawhi Leonard with the way he's playing. And the knock on him, the reason he fell into the teens is he couldn't shoot. But the Spurs got him in their system. They got him with their shooting coach, and now he can shoot. And they coach guys up. But I think the 2 biggest shockers, probably in both the East and the West, have to be Phoenix and Minnesota, right?
Minnesota for sure. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns looks amazing to me.
Yeah.
He's really playing well.
Not that I'm an advocate for violence, but I like the fact that we saw Karl Anthony Towns get into it with Joel Embiid, Granted, they lost that game, but I like the fire in him. I like the fight.
Yeah. I was impressed. And the Suns are playing without their big guy, who's suspended for 25 games.
But they got the Australian, Aaron Baines, crushing it. They're 4-2. They beat the Clippers.
Yeah. They look good. And, conversely, Golden State looks like they're in a world of hurt.
Well, Steph's out 3 months now.
He's out 3 months. Now Draymond's hurt. I think they're looking lottery to me, which, you know what? Might not be. If they get Klay Thompson back, Steph back, Draymond, and they get a lottery pick, which they haven't had in forever.
Yeah.
Who knows what they are this year?
And you forget.
So it could be these injuries could be very fortunate for the Warriors.
And you forget about D'Angelo Russell. I mean, an asset you have sitting right there that, I don't know what you can get for him, but I mean, like you said, after you play in the finals, 5 seasons in a row as the Warriors?
Yeah.
Plus some of those guys played in some international ball here and there. Maybe a season off for Steph, a season off for Klay. Draymond sort of not shuts it down, mind you, but maybe, tunes it down for a season. Not the worst thing.
But so the Sixers are the only undefeated team.
I think biggest disappointment so far for me is maybe Sacramento Kings.
Well. I mean, they're playing very, very
1-5. I mean, I know we didn't think they were going to be a good team by any stretch.
Then there's the hapless New York Knicks.
I just thought they would be a lot better than 1-5. They looked like they were a team on the rise, and they look just as terrible as ever for whatever reason. So I don't even know what to say about them. And then
you can pick it up from here.
Yeah, I was talking about my biggest disappointments, and like I said, I mentioned Sacramento at 1-5, and then New Orleans, the Pelicans at 1-5.
I'm not surprised about New Orleans though, because of losing Zion and having a regroup. I think it's going to be good for New Orleans because all these other guys are going to play, and they're going to get better playing together, and you're going to add Zion in the mix, and he's going to up to him. So I think it's okay. I did expect them to make the playoffs. I'm not sure they won't, but it's looking a lot harder now.
It definitely is. And the East looks like it's going about as well as we said it would, where technically right now Charlotte is the 6th seed, and Detroit and Cleveland would be in the playoffs as of today, which means the East is just not very deep at all.
No. And that's why I would like to see the NBA go to that model where they seed the top 16 teams.
Yeah, it's time. It's definitely time.
And I mean, you could argue, well, we've always had it this way. I mean, what if baseball did? You went to the World Series with two teams from the same league. I don't know. Basketball's so jumbled up. I mean, you play each other. You play every team either 2 times or 4 times. So it's not like they're not kind of in the same conference anyhow, because you all play each other. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm okay with it. I would like to see the best 16 teams in the NBA. That would be interesting.
I think so too. Because, like you said, it's in a Major League Baseball, you're 1 or 2 times a year where you have interleague play. But in basketball, you're playing everybody all year round anyway, so who cares? Get the 16 best teams in there, let them go at it. Because I don't want to see Charlotte or one of these teams in the East get in.
But I think your Knicks are going to be playing for the lottery pick again.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to happen. They're not a well put together basketball team.
And it's sad when you watch a Knicks highlight from the Garden. Those fans are so into the game.
Yeah,
they deserve so much more than what they have.
That's part of the reason. Like when you took me to games when you were in New York, and I was like in an impressionable age for a fan, and like Pittsburgh obviously doesn't have a basketball team. Otherwise, I'd just be ride or die for the black and gold NBA team at Pittsburgh. But the Garden is a magical place. New York City's a magical place, and those fans were great fans. And it was easy to like.
They really deserve much better than they have.
Yeah. And I think as long as it's a Dolan team, I don't know if that's ever going to happen.
No, I don't know either. We talking about hockey. I've been following. I know that the Lightning and the Penguins aren't off to the start that I thought they would be off.
No, the Penguins are doing all right. I mean, that game they lost last night was crazy. They had over 50 shots on goal, got 1 in.
And they lost 2-1.
But it's early. Hockey's a long season, and playoff hockey is a very different hockey. So,
as we saw last year, playoff hockey is very different than regular season hockey.
It just is.
Well, I get to sit front row courtside at about the between the top of the tee and the foul line last night Friday night in Orlando, and I saw the Magic play the Bucks. And I got to tell you, if you're sitting that close to an NBA game, refereeing those guys has to be the hardest job there is, because they are just so big and so fast. And it's like if the NFL you call holding every play, you call something on every play in the NBA.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
But I couldn't imagine how hard that is. Because we were talking offline, I saw Markelle Fultz play, and he seems very tentative to me. He doesn't seem confident. And there were times I said, I told your mom, I said, he looks like the 10th best player on the floor.
It's just so weird.
I was expecting more, and I still think it's like we both said. We agreed it was a great move for the Magic to pick him up for what they paid for him. But I'd like to see a little bit. I'd like to see something. I mean, otherwise, whoever had him evaluated as the best player in the draft, I have no idea how they could have seen that or what they saw.
Well, I saw a few Washington highlights, and at the very least, he looked like an uber cocky scorer, almost like, somebody you wanted to rein in more so than somebody you wanted to hold back, and that's what makes it so crazy.
Yeah.
Is he was like one of those guys it seemed like he needed to work on his passing and maybe calm down a little bit in the offense, and now, like we said, he's just he's broken, and I don't know what broke him or how you fix him.
I have no idea. The Bucks, on the other hand, look to me like an NBA Finals team for sure. They have both Lopez brothers and both Giannis and his brother as well. So the brotherly team. But they got great outside shooting.
Yeah.
Their guards are really strong. I mean, they look really, really good. They were down 11 points to the Magic and ended up winning by 30.
Wow.
They've got a really, really strong, deep team.
Well, I know one of the knocks on them is that Eric Bledsoe seems to choke in the playoffs, and they still have him on their team.
Eric Bledsoe looked on fire Friday night. Making everything. But then I would point out that they didn't have to really put out that much on defense because there's a lot of talent they had to guard besides Vukovic.
Yeah, that's true. The Magic is still a very weirdly composed. They have a lot of duplication on their roster.
Yeah. I mean, Aaron Gordon was a very, very high draft pick.
Yeah.
He's very one-dimensional.
Well,
he's not a great shooter. He's a better shooter than he was 3 years ago. He's still not a great shooter.
No, I'd still like to see them. I'd like to see him with a coach that because he's a great athlete and he plays hard and he plays defense. And whether he's your small ball 5 or something along those lines, which is where Vucevic plays and Mo Bamba plays, I think in the right system, I think he could be a lot more productive. I think the Magic misuse him and continue to do so. And maybe it's because he's only, but I like him as a 5 more so than a 4 or a 3.
Yeah.
College basketball's
starting up, so we'll see how that goes.
There's some
high-ranked teams, but it's early in the season. You can't tell who should be ranked, who shouldn't be ranked.
And maybe as importantly as we're talking about the NBA, we can't tell, outside of the youngest Ball brother, who apparently is on a lot of people's radar, if you are Golden State and you're looking in the lottery, who do people want this year? Who's the guy? Because there's no Zion. There's no LeBron. So who's the guy? Who's going to emerge as the guy that's this is, the number one. This is the number one guy. Because I don't know that guy. I mean, I feel like I knew Zion 2 years before he was even at Duke.
We'll see where it goes. Could be fun.
Yay, food moments this week?
I'll just give another shout out to. We went to Cake this morning and it was outstanding. Cake Cafe and Bakery is just. It's an amazing restaurant. You should all go. I don't know what else to say. If you're in New Orleans.
I went to
Stefano's Trattoria in Winter Springs in Orlando, and it's solid. It's been solid for years. Nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing really dynamic, something different. Actually, we went to Buca di Peppa.
And they've got a new menu. And Mom and I
always like their chopped salad there, but they have a new menu with fresh pasta. And Mom and I had
pappardelle bolognese, and it was really, really good. As good as
any I've ever had in a restaurant. So that says I've always liked
Buca is like a Ruth Chris. They make all their stuff is well done. They make their sauce in the back. They make everything fresh. It just happens to be a chain.
Yep.
I did have an entertainment moment
with great pictures.
Okay.
I watched Good Boys.
Okay.
And it made me laugh quite a bit.
When I saw the priest for that,
when I saw the priest for that, I thought it was going to be pretty funny.
It's a very silly movie, obviously. You can tell from the trailer. And it's got some, It actually has like a cute message, but it's just funny watching, those little kids and have their adventure and obviously say a lot of terrible things at the course of the way, which maybe is immature. I don't know, but it was just really well done, very funny. So.
And we both know there's a lot of movies we want to see coming out.
Sleep
and The Irishman.
I'm excited about Dr. Sleep and The Irishman.
I'm excited about The Lighthouse.
And you got me excited about The Lighthouse.
And people should check out the trailer for Parasite. That guy's a great director. You might have to read for that one, but it'd be worth it.
All right, and I'm still going to go see Moses Brooklyn.
I'm still going to go see Moses Brooklyn because
he is.
Ed Norton is a great actor.
And so I want to see what he does with that.
And so I want to see what he does with that role. And there's some really good movies coming out. I'm real excited about all the stuff coming out.
So, I know this time of year between now and Christmas.
I know this time of year between now and Christmas they've always released the best movies of the year.
I finished the John Connolly books. I'm mailed it to you.
I finished the John Connolly books. I'm mailed it to you this week. It's almost 700 pages.
He wrote this one a little bit differently.
He wrote this one a little bit differently. I'm just saying to you, but as you read it, you'll see what I mean.
But a really good story as usual.
But a really good story.
Well, that's very exciting. And I know everybody else has already discussed this, but I think Netflix experimenting with the idea of being able to watch shows at different speeds is terrible. I think if you don't have time to watch the movie, just don't watch the movie.
Which is The Irishman or
is The Irishman or is it Moses Brooklyn? Which one is debuting on Netflix about a week after it's?
What do you think about that?
Okay.
I think it's great.
What do you think about that?
I mean, for me, because I have Netflix, so I'm happy about it.
Yeah, and this could kind of be our business bummer.
Yeah, this could kind of be our business bummer. I'm a theater
runner. And the industry is not happy about it, and theaters not happy. But I mean, I have a beautiful 4K television, and a comfortable place to sit and watch, in a bathroom, and it's clean, and nobody's going to talk or be on their cell phone. It's great for me. I still enjoy a theater experience, and it would be probably better in the theater itself. But we've come so far, technology-wise, that it's not, it's different now. It's negligible. But I don't like I don't like the speeding. What do you think of trying to speed up a show and watch it at 1.5 times speed?
And I've seen, Apple TV getting ready to roll out.
Apple TV getting ready to roll out. All these other subscription services getting ready to roll out. So
it's going to be a lot different than it is right now.
A year from now,
Apple TV, all their shows are getting shredded in the reviews. Nobody's liking any of them, especially their Jennifer Aniston, Steve Carell, Reese Witherspoon show. That's getting terrible reviews.
What about the one with your double in it?
Jason Momoa's show looks. It's probably rating the highest. I thought the Emily Dickinson show looked the most interesting, but they said it's just all over the place and it can't cut. It doesn't know what it wants to be. And then, no, I guess the highest rated so far has been their Moon show, their NASA.
Well, for anybody listening that always wonders
what my son Jason looks like, he looks like Jason Momoa.
He could be a double for him.
He could be
a double. It's never a bad thing. I don't mind when people say that.
No, it's not a bad thing at all.
No, it's not a bad thing at all.
All right, we'll be on next week after the big college games.
All right, we'll be on next week after the big college games.
LSU, Alabama.
You want to
talk briefly about
LSU, Alabama?
I've been sucked into the culture down here. I have to go with LSU.
I'm gonna root for LSU, but
I'm gonna root for LSU, but I think Alabama's gonna win.
There's something about Saban.
Something about Saban, and he's playing at home.
I just think I'm gonna root for LSU.
I just think but I'm gonna root for LSU. That's it.
Well, outside of New Orleans Saints stuff, which you see a ton of, LSU is the next most popular thing you see down here.
Oh, I'm sure.
Not a lot of Tulane merchandise in the city of New Orleans, sadly. Not a lot of Green Wave fans.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Appreciate the support.
All right, everyone. We appreciate the support as usual. Rate us. Tell your friends. Send us questions.